So I've got a short presentation that I'll share with you. I'll give you a little bit of a demo, and then there are some nice things that you can take away with you and you can get started with straight away. So if I just jump over to this presentation, share that one. There we go, great stuff. So hopefully everybody can see that okay, but please shout up if that's not the case. So I want to introduce you to Composer. So we've got Composer, which is our hardware instrument. We've got Arrownotes, which is our notation. And then we've got Swipe, which is our digital app, which works on iOS, Androids, and in the web browser. Rather than just kind of introduce you through the products themselves, I wanted to kind of frame it through inclusive music ensembles. That is kind of why we set out to do this. It's really about engaging young people and enabling them to kind of feel that joy of performing music together. If you think about kind of traditional instruments, it's quite a long journey that you've got to take from that first time testing the instrument and the kind of first notes that you play through to you being able to kind of perform with your friends. And performing with your friends doesn't mean playing loads and loads of notes. You know, it's about sitting in the pocket and having that really kind of enjoyable experience. We wanted to lower that journey and shorten that journey so that everybody's able to play and perform effectively. So a little bit about us. Myself and my co-founder, Owen, we're both kind of ex-teachers and educators. He's actually a qualified teacher. I'm not. I've worked in many kind of education settings. The naming may be slightly different over there with you guys, but over here we have pupil referral units, which is where young people aren't necessarily engaging in school. So there are various things put on to aim to engage them. So I did a lot of that work around music engagement. I then started working with young people with disabilities, and that was kind of where the birth of Composer happened, and where I've really found a deep interest in ensuring that absolutely everybody in society has the opportunity to play and perform. Both of us are professional musicians. We both still write and record. You know, I still write music for TV for Universal Music, which gets kind of licensed globally to various different things. We're also both signed to record labels. We've been friends for a long time as well, which actually, when you're running a business together, goes a long way. You know, we've both performed together, we've both worked together in education settings. You know, so that actually really helps when you're running a business. Our business, Digit Music, we're an award-winning UK music edtech company. Everything's all born around accessibility, and it's really about everybody getting involved through our adaptive instruments and accessible notation. And it's really about us supporting schools and supporting educators to deliver a wholly inclusive music education without the need for external specialists. So it's about kind of empowering the teachers within the school. We're Department for Education approved, run various frameworks, etc. Doesn't hold quite so much weight, obviously, over in Australia, but just to let you know that we are working at a governmental level over here. We believe in the power of music. That played straight away. So what I want to do is just give you a very short kind of intro video, I suppose, of kind of what we've created and why we created it. We believe in the power of music and that everybody should be able to enjoy making it.
That's why we've created Composer, our joystick-based music controller, and Swipe, our accessible music app that let all of us, regardless of ability, become a musician.
It's so easy for them to make music. I can make so many different sounds. It takes away the layer of panic. It's also going to give them so much more independence.
Absolute engagement from every single one of them.
I think it's wonderful. I think it's the best thing I've come across.
They opened up so many doors for me. I've been able to start a music career.
They're really easy to control, nice to hold. It's like a music video game.
Yeah. It just makes everything more fun.
So hopefully you can see in that video there that we're kind of taking everybody from the classroom all the way up to the stage. You know, so it really is an instrument that kind of works for you, whichever stage of your journey that you're at. We've done a lot of this work over the years, so I just wanted to kind of highlight a few of the key pieces that have taught us a lot. You know, when creating anything, whether it's a product or service, if you're doing that in the accessibility, special needs, disability space, you have to be working with the kind of people that your instruments or your tools are designed for. So from the very, very first kind of notes played with the instrument, we've worked with disabled musicians throughout. The kind of idea initially was born out of a project called the Able Orchestra, which I was kind of one of the lead sort of audio developers on. We ended up performing at the Royal Albert Hall as part of the BBC Proms. We've played with the BBC Philharmonic Orchestra, the Halle Orchestra, and it was kind of through these projects that Composer was really born. We just saw how effective young people could be in navigating the world with their wheelchair joystick. So we decided to redesign that. You may kind of notice that the shape of it is very much like a wheelchair joystick. And that was a very active choice because it's ergonomically designed so that if you're a young wheelchair user, you can access everything. Trailblazers is the next one along, and that is a project that's been going on for the last 2 years. And this was all about how do we empower teachers to teach inclusively and to deliver music to all young people in their setting. And it's not something that had been possible before. So some of the things that came back was 95% of the teachers were feeling more empowered to teach. We had a massive raise in confidence around music, and all of the young people really enjoyed engaging in the genres that they're kind of listening to outside of school. There can be a sort of a view that music can quite often be classically based, and then you bring technology in, but the technology is kind of all at a production level. What we've done is kind of bring in technology at that kind of instrument playing level so that young people can engage in the sounds that they're listening to. We've also partnered with the BBC, so we have made their 10 pieces repertoire, which is their kind of education repertoire that gets released each year. We've made some of those pieces inclusive, so they use Arrownotes, so we can share those with you afterwards as well. Now, we've started these projects, we've been delivering these for some time, but actually what I want to do is have a look at the very first time that we took some instruments into a school and show you kind of some of the work that those guys were doing. This is a place called Ysgol-i-Derry in Wales, and it's a specialist setting where they've got young people with varying requirements around access. So my name's Si, I'm one of the founders of Digit Music. We create music tools that can be used and accessed by everybody.
What it means is that if you can't interface with a traditional instrument, so keyboards, pianos, so what we wanted to do is we wanted to make an instrument that pretty much anyone can play.
I've not known anything like this sort of thing before, but it's certainly something we'll put in place again in the future because I just love having pupils coming in. There's no structure to it, there's no kind of formal, they don't have to come in and do anything particular, they just come in and play, and that's what it's all about.
So there's a short kind of intro of some of the work at Ysgol-i-Derry. I'm not going to play the whole video, but we can share this afterwards. So that if you guys are on the list, then we can share some of this information with you after the call. So what did we kind of learn along the way? It's really about, if you want to engage everybody, it's about keeping it simple. It's about ensuring that you've got inclusive instruments and tools that everybody's able to play with. And it's about ensuring that everybody kind of gets the space that they need. It's about choosing varied pieces of music as well. So you'll see how that feeds into how we've created Arrownotes across multiple levels. If you're going to a performance, set a date. Deadlines always work really well, but that's kind of for another conversation. And then really what we wanted to do was just enable everybody to be able to get involved. So what we've done is kind of built everything we've got into specific packs. So we have the single units on their own. We then also have them with what are called RAM mounts on them. Which I can show you just here, which this means that you can connect it to a wheelchair, to a mic stand, to a keyboard stand, whatever you want to do. And then we've built that into a kind of ensemble box where you get everything that you need to jump out of the gate. We've also kind of developed a framework, which is, we kind of call it the 5 A's framework, which we can jump into shortly. So now I want to give you a quick example, a quick demo of Composer so you can see how it works. There's a QR code up in the top right there, but I'm going to share a different screen now, so you won't necessarily be able to see that. But what you will be able to do is at the end, I've got that QR code again, and it means you can get free access to the app. So what I'm going to do is just quickly change cameras over. so that I can give you a very short demo. There we go. So hopefully now you can see Composer there. And then what I'm going to do is just share this screen here, which is for our app Composer Swipe. So you'll notice on the hardware, we've got these kind of colored arrows running around the top, and that's the exact same that you can see on the screen there. So these kind of work with our Arrownotes. So we use colors and directions to describe the notes that we're playing. So each direction that I move on the joystick is going to play a note. You can see the note name written down in the bottom right hand side of the app. So now I'll play a C major scale. And we can set the key and scale on the app and on the device to any major or natural minor scale, but it auto loads into C major just because, particularly in somewhere in a specialist setting, if you've got a non-musical teacher kind of delivering a lesson, it's the easiest way for them to start. Now, the speed that I move the joystick changes the velocity or how loud the note is. This means that we can play really dynamically. So I'm going to add sustain, and these are the octaves. So I can now move around and build a little chord. So you can play very musically and with lots of dynamic, but that's not always what we want to do, particularly when we're first starting. So we've built a load of accessibility functionality into the units. The first one of those that I'm going to do is turn off the dynamics by going into settings. It now means that every single note that I play will be kind of the same volume. If I now turn on sustain and turn on chords, and I'm going to move down one octave, each time I move the joystick now it's going to play a chord. There we go, turn sustain off. Now, I've kind of got it an electric piano sound on here, but one of the things that we've got inside the app are loads of great noises. You can't see, but behind me, we've got a really nice studio with lots of old analog synthesizers and wonderful instruments. And we work with producers all over the world. So here's a selection of some of the instruments that we've got in here. We've got an adungu here, and we've got an Naititi. They're both recorded in Nairobi in East Africa, and we've got kind of whole learning journey built around that. For now, I'm just going to go to, let's just go to an acoustic piano, because it's quite a nice one to kind of show everybody knows what a piano sounds like. So once we're into the piano there, I can also add a backing beat to play with, and I can change the shape of the chords. So let's just make some little changes there and play a beat. So there we go. You can hear that there's, you can change the chords, you can change the shape of the sounds. There's a lot of stuff that you can do to really personalize the playing experience. But all you have to do is move this joystick. So what you'd have to do on a piano, a traditional piano interface, to play some of those chords that I was playing, takes a lot of dexterity. It also takes a lot of theoretical knowledge. Whereas with Composer, everything's built into the device itself. So all you need to do is just move the joystick using one finger, or in the video that we'll share with you later, somebody's playing it with their chin, somebody's playing it with their feet. So it really is about kind of giving the deepest level of access that we can. So I'm going to share over to this tab now, and then we shall move on. So Arrownotes that I mentioned, we've got loads of activities that come alongside this, but it scales over a number of levels. So if I show you this one here, you can see level 1 at the top. It looks kind of a lot like a 90s dance mat. It's a really gamified thing. You're just following colors and directions to play the piece of music. Then we jump all the way to the bottom, conventional notation. Here you can see those notes put onto a stave. That is the exact same 2 bars of music running throughout. So level 1 is highly simplified, gamified experience. Level 2 starts to introduce some note architecture. And then level 3 actually puts those notes onto a stave, sorry. Right, I'm just going to stop sharing so that I can switch cameras. In fact, I can switch it just here. There we go, perfect. Okay, so if we go back to the presentation now when you purchase Composer, you get access to a load of these resources. So we have an area called Backstage on our website that has access to all of the onboarding materials that you need. It's got lots of help sheets. It's got lots of videos. So everything that you need to get started. And then you also get access to loads of different Arrownotes repertoire and activities. So here you can see we've got them split into one-to-one, for pairs, for small groups. We've also got a songbook and we've got some festive activities as well, which I will show you next. So just to quite quickly jump over these 5 A's, I don't think it's so important for this call, but I think it's worth us kind of just overviewing the framework. So it's really about access, ensuring that everybody can participate. And that is kind of where our tools come in. And with Arrownotes as well, it really helps that because anybody can play using any instrument. Aspiration is key. We often find that, particularly in the inclusion space, the kind of bar for musical success can be quite low. Now, I do believe that, you know, music is never necessarily right or wrong. You know, it's about everybody getting access and being able to play. But what we've seen is if you push young people to kind of be the best that they can and play the best that they can, it works really well, and you kind of see people advancing very quickly. Adaptation's key, you know, differentiating the kind of materials that you've got, but adapting the space to ensure that you're playing with the right instruments, getting things in the right place, making a really safe, predictable, flexible atmosphere so that everybody's comfortable. And agency is absolutely key to all of this, really. You know, when we set up the Able Orchestra, as kind of the leaders of that, it was about us never playing a single note within a piece. You know, all of the young people are leading on everything. And that's kind of something that has carried through. The Able Orchestra are now very, very busy, playing lots of shows, doing lots of workshops, etc. So that's kind of carried through and is ongoing. Now, we've looked at this from the kind of send and inclusion side of things, which is kind of where things we were born out of. It's part of our DNA, inclusion. You know, it's something we will always do. But there was a phrase that we heard many years ago around inclusive design. So inclusive design is kind of designing something so that as many people can get involved as possible without kind of creating something and then adding an add-on for it to ensure that it works for those with disabilities. So the phrase is, if you design for the edges, you get the center for free. And I think that's a really lovely phrase. So if you design an experience that works for those that are most marginalized, you actually then end up with a user experience that works for everybody. And that's what we've seen with our kind of digital first primary classroom setup. So using Composer, the hardware and the app, and then also a collection of the curriculum map resources that we've created, non-specialist teachers are now able to deliver a whole music curriculum across a number of years in a school. So in the UK, there'd be years 4, 5, and 6. I'm not totally sure what that relates to over there with you guys, but it's kind of from sort of 9, 10, 11, 12, that kind of age group there. We've got resources for younger and we've got resources for older, but we've noticed that this is kind of a key area that needs support, particularly over here in the UK. So I'm just going to play a very short video that kind of outlines some of that work.
My first impressions of the programme were I was really impressed. It looked really exciting. Nothing that I've really experienced before. I've taught music across primary, but yeah, it was just exciting that there looked like a new range of genres for the children to experience. They're really hooked into it straight away and being really creative straight away, like coming up with their own little melodies, which was really nice.
We've been making our own melodies, which is really fun because like you can explore all the beats. Like here are like so we know what to play. Yeah. We've been playing like pop, like garage, and I recommend it for schools.
Here we go. That's a short video from a case study from a while ago. And we've now got a load of schools in the UK kind of taking this approach. There's a slight gap in the number of specialist music teachers that are in education. And this kind of aims to sort of fill that gap and just support young people in engaging with music in the way that relates to them. I think where this becomes important as well is for anybody looking to kind of purchase Composer or to find out more, what you're actually getting is a tool that can be used across a number of settings. So it can be used for a young person that's got quite complex access needs. It can also be used for a young person that's going out to perform, you know, on the main stage as part of a kind of school presentation. So depending on the resources that you kind of put around the instrument, it can work for almost anybody. As I say, myself and Owen, we take these into the studio with us if we're writing. On the other end of the spectrum, my 3-year-old son loves playing with Composer, and we've got a number of young people in wheelchairs that are using Composer kind of on a daily basis. So hopefully it really does cover a lot of bases. So, you know, it'd be nice for us to it's always nice to hand out some things that people can go and get started with straight away. So with that, we've got Composer Swipe here. So if you scan that QR code, that will take you to a page on our website where you can either download for iOS, for Android, or you can access the web browser. So that's a kind of really nice way to go and get started. You've got one instrument in there that you can play with. If you then go and sign up for a free account on our site, you get a few more instruments, and you know, have a chat with Hugh and Jules and the team over at the Brainary in terms of finding out how you can purchase. But what I'd like to do is just quickly show you a couple of these kind of resources. So we always like the sort of project-based learning approach. So this is a part of a festive starter pack. So if anybody has festive performances and things going on, this here will take you through step by step on what you need to do to perform Jingle Bells. So if I just zoom slightly out, this one here, you can see that we're actually using the QWERTY keyboard. So you can load up the web browser and you can just play using the keys on your keyboard here. So you can get started very quickly. Once you've got the app downloaded, you can play by swiping, tapping, or blinking. So you can actually use head tracking to move around the app. Obviously, you can also plug in Composer and you can play using the hardware if you own that or if you've borrowed that. So this is a resource that we'll share with you. It gets started very simply. It then kind of takes it onto a timing grid. And then for those that want to go, in fact, this is worth just showing. You see with Arrownotes, in traditional notation, you've kind of got the note name and where it's placed on a stave. Here you can see there's a number of ways that we're able to represent that same note. Anything around inclusion is about giving as many access points as possible. So we feel that Arrownotes does a good job in doing that. And then down here, for those that want to, you've kind of got a full ensemble version here of Jingle Bells. So for those of you that want to get festive, you'll be able to get access to that straight away. I'll make sure that Hugh and Jules and the team have these, and they'll be shared out with you after this call. This is not one that we'll share with you, but this is just worth having a quick look at. So this is a specific unit of work mapped for special educational needs. So we use a framework that was developed over here called Sounds of Intent, developed by a guy called Dr. Adam Ockleford, and it's about kind of tracking progression for young people who maybe aren't kind of progressing through a musical route as such. It's more about cause and effect and engagement, and kind of starting to recognize and build patterns. The way that these work is all the way throughout, you've kind of got these video links. So as a teacher, the only thing that you need to do is open up the resource and you can go through and you can kind of teach. So we've got some videos on how you use the instrument, but we've then also got some videos here on how you can kind of make the instrument more suitable for your students. So I spoke about the RAM mount earlier and how you can kind of orientate the device to be suitable for the student, but also you can lock the device. So once you've set up your kind of chords and things that you want on here, you can then lock that device off. That does two things. It means that one, people can't button bash and change things, but it also means that somebody can use this surface as a rest. So depending on the complexity of their need, it gives them a kind of another access point there. So anybody that's interested in finding out any more about any of these, then you've got our contact details on the presentation here. So I'll be able to share this presentation with you straight afterwards. So my name's Si, as I mentioned, from Digit Music. So you can contact me directly on my email, which is sichew@digitmusic.co.uk. And then you can also contact Hugh at the Brainary. Hugh, that may not be the best person's contact on there, so we can update that when we share it out. But as I say, we're partnered up with the Brainary out in Australia, so there are devices over there that you guys can get your hands on. we're able to offer support and training and anything you need really to ensure that Composer is embedded in your setting and it's enabling you and your students to kind of access more music making. So thank you very much for the time, for your time. I'd really like to open up for any questions. So Jules, I'm not sure if you can see in the chat, but if anybody has any questions, it'd be great to hear from you.
No, there's none came through, but thanks, Si, and thank you everybody for attending. I'm definitely going to share this for those that couldn't join for out of hours or whatever reasons. I really enjoyed that, Si. Thank you.
Thank you. No problem.
Sorry, thanks so much. Sorry, I've just noticed I'm the only one in here, so I'm hoping that you can record it and send it to others. But yeah, I just wanted to say that it seems amazing what you've done. So I'm a registered music therapist that's working in New Zealand. And so I contract quite a few hours through a special ed school. I used to be head of therapy there before going out in private practice. Right. So yeah, it'd be good to have a chat with the school principal about this, as well as have a look into for my private practice as well as getting some on board, because it just seems amazing. But I had thought as well, like this would be a really great presentation for any sort of like music therapy conference or things like that, because I think there would be really a lot of people that would get on board if you could do any of those for Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the kind words. Yeah, and it'd be great to find out more kind of about where you're working and how we can support. Yeah, and I'm very happy to kind of deliver presentations like this. So if you have networks that you're able to introduce us into, I'd be very happy to support that.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm mainly in the disability sector. So yeah, this seems really great. We've got obviously mixed abilities, so I think some would obviously need the device, but if there were some that could use it on, is it possible just to use it on the app as well?
Yes, it is. Yeah. So generally where we find is you can access everything inside the app, and then the hardware works really well for kind of whole class settings, for young people with kind of more complex needs, and then for any kind of main performance elements as well, because it's great to have a piece of hardware going on stage.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. We've got a school of, I think, about 130 kids at the special school we've got. Yeah. Okay, so, no, this is great. So the principal shared it with me for this presentation anyway. So I'll go back and have a chat with her about it and see what we can do. But yeah, definitely interested. It seems amazing.
Amazing. Thank you very much. And so please reach out if you've got any more questions.
Yeah, I will do. I've just screenshotted your email, so I'll I'll have a chat to the principal and things like that, and then flick you an email about getting on board with it.
Sounds great. Brilliant. Thanks for joining.